If there was evidence, then the person who has literally what we call the bully pulpit, one of the most powerful men in the country, should have at least furnished some of that evidence, but he didn't. Name a single thing besides the P tape in the Steele dossier that you can say was proven false.
I don't know anything.
Exactly. What we did know was that there was meddling, and so then when we talked about the meddling, it's the reason why that came up was because of a parallel that you tried to draw. That's why.
I think. And I'm being fully candid here. Fully candid.
Yeah, go ahead.
Staying home and chewing bubblegum would be better than being a Trump supporter.
Legit.
I mean, here's the thing. I got you. Ultimately, I'm not entirely I'm definitely more of a Trump supporter. Whether I was more 8 years ago and I was more 4 years ago, and it's not that I support him less. I just care less about politics. I'm I don't even think anything gets out of this mess, dude. Everybody just needs Jesus. No, man. Seriously, if I look at everything that's happening in the country, and it's we got 6 million people coming across the border every year. That's unfucking sustainable. That's impossible. That's not a country. That's nothing. That doesn't work, That's happening more and more and more. And then it's just hey, new war over here, $100 billion to them. And it's but we have to defund schools and, all over the country. And, new war. Oh, somebody got attacked over there. Okay, we'll have $50 billion to them. That's not a country, dude. We're getting flooded with millions of people. We're just giving out money to every other fucking place in the country. It's insane, dude. It's possible. It's a fucking train wreck. And it's Trump will be hey, that's a fucking train wreck. Don't do that. That's it. Vote Trump. That's it. Done. Simple.
You think Trump wouldn't give money to Israel?
I think that Trump would prevent the wars from starting in the first place, or at least say, hey, solve your shit or no money. Whereas I don't think the Democrats do that. I think the Democrats will I think they're fucking controlled, dude. There's no...
Didn't Trump give Israel a monstrous amount of money to open that embassy in Jerusalem?
Was there a war at that time?
No, but he gave them money in a time of not war. You think at a time of war, he's going to give them even less?
How much money did he give them to do that is the question. And was there a war, and was it an endless fucking war? And there was no war in Ukraine. There was no war in Israel. There was no war, period. No new wars under Trump. No new wars started, right?
I feel you, but I think the point that he's making is that Trump is obviously showing his support for Israel. The fact that he gave them such a large amount of money when they weren't at war.
What was the amount of money that he gave them?
I don't know the exact amount, but then I think it would be safe to say that if obviously he felt the need to give them that much money when it wasn't a time of war, that he would also feel like it would be appropriate to maintain, if not increase, that support in time of war. So then the amount of money he would give when they're in war, like now, would actually be even higher. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that. I understand your logic though, but I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Mostly because I'm still hearing, I've heard some of the things that he's been saying to Israel, and he's talking to Benjamin Netanyahu. And he goes, you need to end this now. You need to get this done quick. And that was months ago. And he's this cannot go on.
Yeah, but does that mean that he wouldn't have given them the initial money?
I can't say 100% for sure. I think he would have given them the initial money, but I think he would have been harder on them and said, this is not some endless war. You don't get infinite money to keep doing this. This is very bad. You need to stop it. I think he's very pragmatic. I think Trump is actually very pragmatic, and that there's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of, he's orange Hitler, blah blah blah. He's not orange Hitler, dude. He's actually kind of a fucking realist, and he's the kind of guy. It's he's not. He hates losing. He doesn't like.
I'll give him that. He hates it.
He hates it.
But it's valid in everything. He hates it.
He has a very keen sense of what is losing and what is winning, and he is willing to make concessions when he's pragmatic and realistic, and he will say things to Republicans that I don't even agree with, and he's you're fighting some shit right now, and this is a stupid thing to fight on, and you're losing. Stop losing, you fucking losers.
He does concede when he needs to. For example, if there's an election that happens or something, and then it doesn't go his way, do you feel like he conceded pretty well there?
When the election, I think there was bullshit in the election, but I don't know. I think there's a lot of bullshit that's been going on for a little while, and I think that I think he was probably right to say that, hey, I think there was some bullshit in this election, and I don't necessarily concede.
Do you feel like as a president he should have substantiated that first?
Sorry, say that. He should have substantiated that first. What do you mean?
Yeah, as a president, do you think he should have had just any form of evidence of that before making a public statement?
You should always have evidence. evidence of anything that you claim. Ideally, as long as it's like, as often as it's provable. Like, I believe in God. People are like, where's the evidence? And it's like, I don't know, man. Like, you're fucking alive, and so am I. I don't know what you want.
Yeah,
But,
those things are different. But
Right.
when it comes to like the idea of like literally upending democracy to some degree and like arming up an entire like half of the country dang near and making them feel like they can no longer trust our elections, thereby weakening patriotism, weakening loyal to the country, weakening belief in democracy as a whole, weakening belief in the process. Like, do you feel like maybe like a well thought out person would probably get evidence and have that stuff on hand so that those people are actually acting for a reason, so that we don't just create an endless like So you would admit that that's one of Trump's failures then?
There are people that believe that there is evidence for that. I think that
but he hasn't furnished any. So would you say that was one of his failures?
Can I ask you, have you ever like looked into it? Have you ever looked into anything that's been presented as evidence? I
think you should answer my question first. Would you admit that that's one of his failings?
I think you could call it a failing. I think I've looked into some of the things. I think that little bump and that little jump. Basically, to rig an election, all you have to do is it's kind of like a judo. You know, like in judo, you just have to control the joints, right? You control the movement points, right? To rig an election, you don't make shit go 99% your way. You find the points. You find like the margins, little paint for the margins, the little points. You just tweak it right there, and you give it a little twist.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me like that was possible. I think
that's a bit different, though, right? Isn't that like a step? Because that's a step past the original question, right? Because like you're asking, is there evidence, right? I don't think that there's any evidence, but I think the main point is, if there was evidence, then the person who has literally what we call the bully pulpit, one of the most like powerful men in the country, should have at least furnished some of that evidence, but he didn't. So then at this point, it's one of those things where you want me to believe that the most powerful man in the world, who had all of the interests to make sure that he was able to prove this thing, literally furnished zero receipts or zero evidence like to this thing, but I'm supposed to believe that it existed, and he was aware that it existed, but just chose not to furnish it. Does that sound crazy to you or not? I feel like you're ready to talk, but I don't feel like you're really going to engage with what I was saying, because you were already kind of like champing at the bits to speak.
Okay, I'm listening to what you're saying, man. Don't worry about that.
Okay, so then respond to that. Do you think that that's fair or not?
I think that's fair. I think that proving fraud takes time, and if he feels that there was fraud within a 2-month time between November and January, because November, December, January, right? If he feels that it happened, and he feels he has evidence but he couldn't present it in that time, and he says like he feels like it was rigged, I think you can say that. And I think if you say that he should have presented evidence, I can say you're right in that too.
But we've already admitted that to say that during that 2-month period when you don't have the evidence is obviously incredibly damaged American public and to just the country as a whole and to the state of democracy. And so you admitted already that that's a blunder.
I'll say to you though, I don't think that's unique to him though. I think the Democrats are equally guilty, if not more so.
Wait, guilty of like
of disenfranchising democracy. Like, I mean, they said that Russia rigged the election. They said that shit for 4 years.
Wait.
No evidence. That never happened.
Wait, no. I think you're getting that wrong. I think the thing that there was no evidence of was Trump colluding with the Russians. But I think pretty much all, but all of the intelligence agencies have all come to the conclusion that Russia did attempt to interfere with the election, and they did meddle with our election.
That was not what the initial claim was.
Look, I can't tell you what the initial claim was, because I think there were some people who were suspicious. There were some people who were suspicious of the idea that Trump colluded, but there were also absolutely claims that there was Russian meddling in our election. Like that's been a claim from the very beginning, and that claim has been substantiated. You're aware of that?
Yeah, but we meddle in everyone's elections. All countries, I think, attempt to meddle in other people's elections. That's not some.
But the thing that you but your argument just now was that you said that it was the Democrats were like also kind of dismantling or getting in the way of democracy by making this claim, but the thing that they claimed was actually true. So why would making a true statement that has now been verified by intelligence agencies, why would that be like dismantling or harming democracy?
Because that was not their initial claim. Their initial claim was that Trump was colluding and in like hoax and a puppet of Russia and Putin. And they walked that back over years, and they even tried to put Trump on trial for it, which was the Mueller report, and they were looking into that. They walked it back over time. They essentially memory hold it. They do what's called double think. They say, it's this, and they go, well, it's not that, but it's this. And, well, it's not that, but it's this. okay. But you know what? Russia tried. They tried.
Not tried,
And
succeeded.
Mhm.
They did.
How did they succeed?
I mean, there was like all sorts of like intentional disinformation that led plenty of Americans into complete like nonsense that like allowed them to want to vote one way over the other. Like they did that, like misinformation and like that people genuinely believe.
So
That's
I
what
mean,
they
there's
did.
lots of things, like there's lots of things that Democrats believe that aren't true either.
Okay, but there's
Democrats did what?
like well, hold on before we get to that.
I'm
The,
so,
the
I
difference
guess
is if
like,
Russia
go ahead.
intentionally like misinformed the American public in order to sway an election, then that would be the meddling in the election. That's what they did.
Okay, can I ask you? Have you ever heard of like the P tape? Right? Have you ever heard of like the Trump P tape
Mhm.
thing?
I've heard of that. I've heard of that rumor.
Yeah, and that's completely false, right?
Well, we have no idea if it's false or not, but I mean, it's a rumor.
What do you mean you don't have an idea if it's false?
Well, because that, you would be asking me to prove a negative to say that it's false, right? Like, in other words, prove that this thing
I
doesn't
wouldn't ask
exist.
you to prove a negative if it's false. I'd be asking you to prove a positive if it's true.
Well, see, but there's
Don't have enough problem.
there's
Yeah.
three things. I can either make the positive statement it's true, I can make the positive statement that it's not true, or I can make the agnostic statement that I don't know whether it's true or not, which is what I said from the beginning. But I can't
All right.
prove to you that it's not true. So
Sure.
I can't make a positive statement one way or the other. I'm agnostic.
That's okay, but that's fine. But in that sense, you can't necessarily say whether or not Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton drink children's blood or anything like that because you just don't know if that's true or not, right?
I
so
don't.
you're not sure. You're
I
not
don't
sure
know.
if that's
I don't know that that's
Right.
true or not. I don't know that that's true at all.
like. But I mean, those are the kind of things where it's like essentially anyone by your the standard that you're kind of holding right now that you're setting up is that anyone could make any claim at all, no matter what it is, and you would have no basis to reject or accept.
Well, no.
Well,
I think
you're getting into the realm of what is plausible and what something is known whether it is true or false. We can't know things unless we have evidence of them to be true or false. But we can argue on plausibility. It is pretty implausible that there'd be actual bloodsuckers being pulled in political office. Like that is a thing that requires quite a suspension of disbelief. But it could be true. It's just implausible. It hasn't met the level of plausibility.
I guess what I'm saying is,
Mhm.
I'll try this all back so that at least we can get back to like something that we can all kind of like get on because we're going into weird, not weird things, but different things. My whole point was
you brought up the piss and the blood drinking. I didn't bring up either of those things. That's you.
Right. My point was when you say that Russia meddled in the election by making people believe things that were not true. That was also the case with the whole Trump P-tape thing, and that was done by Hillary Clinton and done by I think it was MI6 and it was done basically through England. So it's like
Wait, can you find me I think you're making this up. You can't find me a single incident of Hillary Clinton making a claim that Trump got pissed on by Russians.
That was literally paid for by her campaign.
I guess
The Steele dossier, they paid. They didn't pay for it to be. They didn't pay for it to be done. They paid for access to it. Was my understanding.
So
that Steele dossier was an intelligence report.
That's completely false.
It's not completely false.
How is it not?
They haven't substantiated the P tape, but a lot of things that were in that Steele dossier have been corroborated.
Okay. So, what are the things that have been corroborated?
Ooh, I don't have it off my top of my head.
A lot of things.
It's been a while.
Just a lot of those stuff, though. Just a lot. Just
Okay,
a lot
hold
of
on.
it.
Okay, so hold on. Name a single thing besides the P tape in the Steele dossier that you can say was proven false.
I don't know anything. That's
Exactly.
in
All
there.
right. The only reason why I did that. No. The only reason why I did that. Hold on. Let me explain.
Man, I don't want to listen to you, but I just want you to hear here's what I heard.
No.
Okay?
But I feel like it needs to be explained because what you did was look.
No,
It's not intentionally dishonest, but it is kind of dishonest, right? Because
Not
what you do, what you did. Hold on. Okay, I know. Listen really quick. I know you're going to. What you said. Huh?
Will you listen to me after this though?
Wait, what? What are you saying?
I have something to say. I wanted you to hear what I heard. Okay.
No.
But
I don't want to hear the random things that you heard, but I want to point out the thing that just happened, and then we can go and then you can go and mention whatever you heard, right? Because chronologically, the thing that happened first was you did that thing where you first asked us to name something off the top of our head that was confirmed in something that happened quite some time ago, and then no, I did it. I'm sorry. Actually, listen, you're ready to jump already, and you don't know what I'm going to say. First, what happened was You asked us to come up with some information of something off of a document or something that happened quite some time ago, right? Like off the top of our head. And then when we couldn't do it, almost acted as if that, like, okay, as if it was a win of some kind, or as if maybe that we're talking like out of the side of our necks, when in reality, you couldn't do the same thing. But I don't think that you look at it the same and go, okay, yeah, I guess what I'd asked of them was a little bit unfair. Instead, you still probably maintain in some sort of way that there was nothing corroborated.
Because there was nothing.
Okay, so yeah, I wish you would have just stated that from the very beginning. I guess I could look it up. If I looked up some of the things that were corroborated right now, what would that gain me? Because I don't feel like you would then go and say, all right, you know what, you're right. I have been talking out of my neck this entire time. I feel like you would instead.
No, you're not. Don't worry about it. Sorry.
Wait, I'm sorry. You were interrupting me. What was that? I'm sorry. What were you interrupting me to say? I missed it. Go ahead.
My point was that you said. Well, I'm sorry. Let me get. I don't know. Oh, sorry, Jeff. You said some of the things on that were proven true, and I said, what are some of them? You said, I don't know.
Yeah, because I haven't read that document.
And then how do you know that they were proven true?
Because when I had read them, they had said that these are the things that have been proven true.
Okay.
That document is about
that's a little
8 years old. It's about 8 years old.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Right.
And then you're like, well, what's been proven false? And it's like, well, I mean, the P tape is false, but so it feels like you're resting on like, hey, there's things in that document that were true. And it's like, well, like what? And you're like, I don't know.
All right, but the P tape was never proven false.
What do you mean? How do you
the P tape again? The P tape was never proven false. It just hasn't been substantiated.
It was proven false. It never happened. It was just it's a political.
So you're saying they 100% you're proving a negative thing. The thing that I said I didn't want to commit to, that I wouldn't do because I'm probably a little bit more intelligent than that. But I'm saying you're right now at this point being able to make the positive statement. You're able to make the positive statement. For sure. You're able to make the positive statement that this thing doesn't exist. How can you make that statement? You can't prove that.
Okay.
You can?
It's impossible to prove.
That's what I just said. Yeah, you can't prove that. But then you said okay sarcastically.
Well, I don't know. You're almost saying that because you can't prove a negative, negatives can't be disproven.
Wait, no, I'm sorry. It's a really difficult thing, as I said earlier. I'm sorry if you misunderstood me. I'm sorry maybe you misunderstood me earlier. What I said was it's a very difficult thing to prove a negative because it's not impossible. There are some ways that you can prove some negatives, but I'm saying it's a very difficult thing to do. And so because it's so difficult to do, I tend to be agnostic when it comes to things about negatives, right? Typically, right? So in this situation, I can't prove to you that the tape doesn't exist. I've never seen any evidence that it does exist, right? So then I'm not going to make the statement that it does or not. I don't know. I've never really. That's why I would never bring up. That's why I would never bring up the piss tape. You did.
let's just course correct. So I'll give you the two things that I just. I'm not gonna lie. I did look it up. Have been corroborated by the Steele dossier. One is that Russia absolutely did interfere in the 2016 elections, and then two, Russia had state-sanctioned hackers hack the Democratic National Convention, right? The Democratic National Party. Both of those things were in the Steele dossier, and both of those things they had found evidence of it to be true.
Okay, gotcha. All right, that's fine. So what I'm saying is, essentially, it's like.
What was the point of that? What does that do? Well, that's why I asked you earlier. What does that change?
What that changes is that let me go back to think of it. Basically, you're saying that Russia colluded to try to interfere.
Not colluded.
Not colluded.
No, they just interfered. They meddled in our election.
What does that have to do with Trump?
I didn't say that it had anything to do with
Nobody
Trump.
said it. Right. I think we forgot how you got here. You walked us down here.
Why does that matter?
To say that.
Why does that matter in our discussion of Trump then? Why is that?
Well, because I'm sorry, because you tried to create a parallel. When I made the statement that Russia had meddled in the falsities of the election. I mean, meddled in our election. I made that statement, right? And then you asked me how, and I said, they did so by causing people to believe. Hold on, you asked me how, and I said they did so by causing people to believe in things that weren't true. And so then, as a result of that, that swayed people's election decisions. That's what I said. And then you said, as I'm trying to create a parallel, you tried to make the statement, okay, well then the Democrats did the same thing, right? And then you said something about, they did the same thing by talking about collusion. And I said, well, I remember one of the earliest comments was about meddling. Also, there were separate claims. These are distinct claims of collusion that they wanted to investigate. They weren't positive, but they said there may have been collusion. What we did know was that there was meddling. And so then when we talked about the meddling, is the reason why that came up was because of a parallel that you tried to draw. That's why.
Right, yeah. A parallel between casting doubt on the election, on the legitimacy of the election.
Sure. So I think it's fair, okay? Here's the difference, right? Good. I'm glad that we're bringing this back home, because the difference is we now have confirmed evidence, one, of the fact that there was this thing, and the claim that they were making was about things that they had to do a probe to get actual information because it was evident, right? Like that there was meddling in our election. So it's not just making people doubt our election, it's about pointing out a fact that somebody did something to our election. The difference was, when I mentioned the Trump thing, I specifically talked about the fact that he made this claim as the most powerful man in the world with the bully pulpit and chose not to produce any evidence and only weakened so that he could try to maintain his power while not furnishing any evidence whatsoever, which you admitted already was a complete blunder. I don't think it's a blunder on the Democrats' part to make a statement about something that actually is now proven, right? Something that has been corroborated, something that we now have evidence for. I don't think it's a blunder to mention that thing, right? In an investigation, which it later on proves what they're saying is true. And I think that's very different than the Trump thing, where he's making a statement before he has any evidence, calling up governors, trying to have them fabricate the evidence, et cetera, and which you already admit is a blunder. These two things are not the same. You can see the difference, right?
I can kind of see what you're saying. I don't think that they. Sorry, 1 second. I don't think that they are. I think essentially that the Democrats were trying to cast doubt on Trump's election, and you're saying that Trump is saying that the Democrats cheated, and I think the Democrats are saying that Trump cheated. So I see them as equivalent.
But they didn't. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was saying that I see where you're saying they're aligned. They're from much different perspectives. Having an election happen and calling into question whether something nefarious has happened is different from being the loser of an election and saying the only reason why I have lost is something nefarious. I think those are entirely different things. And then also, to not be able to substantiate that a little bit, the Democrats at least have the dossier document to talk about, where it says like, hey, we have this, and it says that there's intelligence. Donald Trump had nothing. He literally had pure speculation at the first time of his rejection. He produced nothing. They then proceeded to try to do argumented reasoning, which got thrown out unequivocally. Every time they tried to produce something, it just was not substantiated.
I can see your point. I still think that there was some bullshit in 2020, but there's kind of how it goes. So
yeah, if we had evidence of that thing, we might be able to think that with you. I just choose not to believe in things without evidence. Again, that's where I'm agnostic. You can tell me that the election was whatever, and I can say, all right, well, I don't know whether it has been or not. What I would say though then is, if we have Trump's own judges themselves rejecting the claims made by these individuals because there's no actual evidence, right? When we have that, makes me feel like if you can't even get your own side to agree with you, then I'm going to go ahead and have to disagree. I'm going to have to believe that this is likely not true. When again, the president of the United States at that time refused to furnish any evidence, I'm going to go ahead and start saying maybe that the evidence doesn't exist. When the guy goes out of his way to start trying to ask the governor of other states to please come up with the votes necessary because he can't produce any evidence whatsoever, at that point, then yet again, I'm going to have to start saying, man, when you're acting this way, right, that's completely out of your best interest, then I have to start doubting this thing. And so for me, yeah, I don't think that there's any good evidence to suggest it. But if you're saying that you do believe that there was something happening, what is that evidence?
I guess when I was watching, I don't know if I can tell you off the top of my head, so I think I'd have to come back and show you something else. I think I have to like build a case and show you something like that. So
okay, do you want to take some time, get that evidence, and come back and do that?
I could see if I can find it. I kind of don't want to actually, because I was just hopping in to say what's up. But
okay, no, you don't got to. Listen, it's okay. I'm all right. Look,
all right.
The thing is, like you said, you're a Christian. I'm a Christian, and at the end of the day, I believe some things that I'm not going to be able to prove to other people, right? Because some of those things aren't going to be evidence. It's only going to be stuff that I've experienced at a properly basic level. And so then, I think they're really similar, because I think you believe something that there's not any actual genuine evidence for, right? Like that some things you might have, experienced in your own brain or whatever. And so for those reasons, like I get, I don't think that I don't think you'll be able to produce that evidence. So I wouldn't really want you to waste your time. Trump couldn't do it. I don't think that you're more powerful than Trump is, especially not when he was the president of the United States. So I just don't think there's any good evidence basis. So yeah, it's not something you should waste your time on.
Escape and float into my